Good evening, you fantastic and glorious degenerates of this floating rock that we call Earth. Welcome back to the Cajun Libertarian Show. I am your host, Noel Olin, the Cajun Libertarian, and tonight we have an amazing guest on, Brian Kunkoski, who's running for state senate in Maryland. So let's talk all things politics and controversial and have all the fun that we always have here on the Cajun Libertarian Show, and we are live. Yes. Good evening and welcome back to the Cajun Libertarian Show. I'm your host, Noel Olin, and we are live with Brian Kunkoski. Before we get into the amazing night that we have set before us with so much fun and national, international, and local news, let me first get to some sponsors. Joe Solosky, JoeSoloski. That's Joe Solosky for Pennsylvania governor, the key to Pennsylvania's success. So if you're looking for something else different in the great state of PA, Pennsylvania, check him out, joesolosky.com. That's JoeSoloski.com, joesolosky.com. Check him out. Do you like guns? Do you like firearms? Are they paramount to the safety and liberty of your household and of your country? Yes, they are. Without question, no doubt about it. So go check out gaparmory.com. That's GAPARMORY, gaparmory.com. Gap Armory carries a wide variety of parts and accessories. Whether you're looking for build kits for 3D printed firearms, optics, outstanding level 4 body armor, or anything in between, they have you covered. Gap Armory is libertarian owned and operated. They also accept Bitcoin, which is a big deal nowadays. So, you might want to check out gaparmory.com. Gap Armory has the gear you need to bridge the gap in your defense preparedness. Get what you need today at gaparmory.com. That's GAPARMORY.com. That's gaparmory.com. And last but not least, I'm wearing their shirt right now. As you can see, it says dangerous liberty over peaceful slavery. I got this shirt courtesy of DSYDO.com. It's a libertarian-owned t-shirt company with designs intended to start a conversation, which I can attest to you in real life. They do. They absolutely do. I've got many shirts. I think I've got about 3 or 4 now. People ask about them all the time. I cannot tell you how many times I got compliments on this shirt. So DSYDO on all of my shirts, actually, DSYDO.com. Cajun 15. Use code Cajun 15 CAJUN 15 for 15% off your order at DSYDO.com. That's DSYDO.com. Now, without further ado, let's bring on the man of the hour, Mr. Brian, my brother. How are you?
What's going on, man? How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good. How are you?
I am trudging along, waiting for these next couple of weeks to go by and kind of get my life back a little bit.
how's the campaign been for you so far?
It's been fun. From the onset, I was telling myself if I'm not having fun, then I've already lost. So I think Ron Paul even said if you're not having fun, then you're doing it wrong. So I just been making sure that I'm having fun with it, not taking myself too seriously. Being a libertarian, you have a lot of people that just want to argue with you on your posts and stuff like that. So I just don't take them too seriously. Stay principled in my beliefs and everything, and have fun, really.
Yeah. I mean, look, I tell people this all the time. And a lot of people ask me for advice on how to do podcasts and whatnot. I said, look, first and foremost, you need to have fun, because if you're having fun, your audience is having fun. Point blank, period. And this will absolutely 100% resonate on the campaign trail. If you are a miserable human being, for what for the endeavor that you took on, which is a massive, heavy endeavor that is campaigning for office like a state seat or a congressional seat. If you're not having fun, people are going to know it. They're going to know it. They're going to smell it. They're going to be able to see it. We don't give people enough credit for it. So kudos to you, my friend, because having fun doing what you're doing is massively, massively important.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's not. This isn't anything that's worth ruining your mental health over, right?
That's right.
And it's not like it's a one and done kind of deal. You don't win or whatever, then you just do it again. And that's my plan. Whether I win or lose, I am going to run again. Like
Amen.
I'm only 30 years old. This is not the last time you're going to see Brian Kunkoski on your election ballot. So get used to it, man. Get used to it.
I love that. That's awesome. I want to read this comment from Chris Fossner, a good friend of mine. Happy Warriors win battles. That is absolutely 100% right. So, Brian, with that last comment you just made, I want to ask you what make, because I know a lot of people, they really can't I'm one of them, right? I talk to a lot of people running for office all the time, and I get it. I've even considered it, heavily considered it. But I always like to ask this question frequently. What was it that brought you to the conclusion that running for office was something that you wanted to do?
I had thought about it for a while, but I didn't make that leap. I didn't think I was quite ready. Um, and actually, my good friend Travis Larrell, he's running for state delegate in my district. He came up to me at our spring convention and brought it up to me like, hey, would you want to run for state senate? At the time, just as a paper candidate, so where I'm not really campaigning, I'm just on the ballot. Um, and and I was like, yeah, sure. Yeah, like, I'll think I'll do that. Double check my wife, make sure she was cool with it, and
Right.
then started doing all the paperwork and stuff. And it was like buying a house again. The amount of paperwork and
Yeah.
going down to Annapolis, the state capital, to file paperwork and talk to the people at the board of elections. And I was like, you know what? If I'm going to do all this work, I'm actually going to run a campaign. And
That's right.
you don't need that much money to get signs and literature. So I was like, screw it. I'll run a raffle, which I ran a raffle in a 3D printer to raise some funds. And
Nice.
yeah, and just took it from there. And then I found out that the Democrat in the race dropped out. So it's just me and a Republican. It's a two-way race, which doesn't happen very often for us. So I was like, all right, I'm doing this. I'm doing it full bore.
No, that does not happen very often. And at this point, to be honest, I mean, if you're gauging every poll and every metric in the United States right now, you would have much rather the Republican drop out than the Democrat because, my God, are they in just a freaking disaster of a
Right.
tailspin of a party? They're absolutely psychotic and lost their control. But still very advantageous that you're only running against one candidate and that the Democrat dropped out. You have any idea why said candidate decided to drop out? I'm very interested in that.
I don't know. I really do not know. He dropped out pretty early. It was like mid-April that he dropped out, and it could be a number of reasons, and I don't want to speculate. So yeah, I never got an answer from
Yeah.
anybody. Um, to be honest, I really don't talk to many other party people other than Libertarian Party. So
Right.
I just took it. I just took it as what it is, and kind of put a little extra fuel or fire under my butt to like, okay, it's a two-way race. This is you know, and historically the Democrats do horrible in my district anyway. We're a very
Yeah.
red district, so it if unless he was just being a paper candidate or he realized that he wasn't going to win, it could be any of those reasons. But I'm thankful
Yeah.
he did drop out. Honestly,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, obviously, you want, the less the obstacles, the better. And so, this isn't a sports game. Okay. This is politics. This is people's lives. This is people's money. This isn't, I want my best players on the field against their best players on the field to make sure that we have the best game possible. No, this is about winning. This is about making sure we put the best people forward and actually having success in the arena of people's lives, because that's what we're talking about in politics. And a big issue that's come up here very recently, and you had a great tweet, and then I quote tweeted you and said, the CDC has just handed you an absolute gem, specifically if you're running for like a state legislator spot, which I think you're running for state senate or state house. I think it's state senate.
Yeah, state
And
senate.
so you're right in you're right in there. The CDC just decided to unanimously, might I add to y'all, unanimously recommend, that word's important, and we'll discuss that in a second, that schools should add the COVID vaccination to their list of vaccinations, which, Brian, you know full well. And anybody that does know, I'll let you know real fast. There's many states in this country, they just rubber stamp whatever the CDC says. So immediately, as soon as this process finishes, those states will rubber stamp that CDC recommendation into a mandate for schools. Translation, your kids will have to be vaccinated against a disease that they're not at risk for, with the medical procedure that is clearly untested. And I'm trying to be careful here because you know how this stuff goes.
Mm-hmm.
Man, what?
It really is mind blowing. Especially that it was just unanimously. If 15 out of 15 people agreed to allow this to happen.
Crazy.
And I actually have the sign right here.
I love it.
It just goes to show that the especially the federal government, they don't listen to their people, right? They are
Right.
None of these people in the CDC that voted on this are elected officials. They don't have to answer to anybody. They don't have to go back to their homes and say, I voted for you because I thought you were going to do X, and you turn around and do another thing. So what it falls down on is people in like state legislators, like hopefully myself, come January, that we have the power to nullify these overreaching federal laws.
Yeah. And you will have that choice 100%, no doubt. And that's why it's so freaking important that we elect people that aren't spineless, feckless cowards that are complicit with these institutions, that are complicit in the degeneration of our individual rights, like the Republican Party. I'm sorry, I know I have probably a significantly large conservative libertarian following. If that makes you upset, go do some research. This is what Republicans do. They habitually campaign as liberty-loving libertarians, and they get in office and they govern like authoritarian progressive Democrats. Stop falling for this. Elect people like Brian, because other than that, look, here's the point. If we don't stop the mandate through state legislation and federalism, like what you're trying to do, Brian, the school system collapses in on itself.
Well, yeah,
I know
you. They don't realize that there's going to be there was already one mass exodus from public schools.
Exactly.
And it's like they want another one. They're almost giving us the case for more school choice. Public school isn't going to go anywhere anytime soon. So let's make it better, right? And mandating an experimental vaccine on our children is not a way to get more people to have more trust in the public school system. It's frankly, it's absurd, right? Sure, one thing, the vaccines that a lot of school systems require now, they've been tested. They didn't get pushed through by a Republican president, to the point where they, tested it on a very small number of subjects. And it's just, I can't believe that it's actually happening. And knowing Maryland, Maryland has had a Democratic majority in the state houses for about 50 years. So there's a very good chance that it's going to get passed. And even then, the Republicans, they voted for, they allowed this state to shut down. Um, my opponent has taken money from Pfizer this election cycle, and he voted on, only allowing essential workers to work during the pandemic, deeming millions of people unessential in their jobs and what they do. And so it's not just the Democrats that are just going to vote this thing through. It's like you said, it's going to be the Republicans and mostly the establishment Republicans. But even then, you had Donald Trump pushing the vaccine and
Still
pushing
is.
through. Yeah, still is. So it's really your only choice for freedom when it comes to this thing is the Libertarian Party, because we are principled people. Every last one of us.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's absolutely psychotic what we're watching unfold in real time. And I want to revisit what you just said because this is massively important to me. It's one of the main. COVID is really kind of the only reason that I even have this kind of name that I do is because I live in a deep red state. And we in actuality, this deep red state that I live in, Mississippi, born in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. By the way, I get a lot of flack for that. Like, oh, you're a Mississippi Cajun? I'm like, no, I'm born in Louisiana. I live in Mississippi because of my wife. Um, um, we didn't really suffer through the COVID era, right? I was able to go and do what I wanted. It can free for all kind of. I literally, I was just talking to a buddy of mine the other day, and he was like laughing his ass off because of this. I said, dude, I literally would spend my own gas money just to drive 20 minutes out of the way to go and buy a drink from the store just to simply defy the stay-at-home orders, which that was literally during the 2 weeks to slow the curve, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so it frustrates me to no end that these people still continue to act like it's Republican governments that were freedom loving when they never did that. You can count on one hand, or you can count on one finger, the state that didn't embrace any sort of lockdowns, and that was Christy Nome. And then she turns around and votes against freaking cannabis decriminalization. So you look, people, you have one choice at this point. Voting the lesser of two evils has driven us into this point of tyranny. It has absolutely handcuffed the American public into being able to live their fullest and most successful lives. And you keep voting the same way as if every election is the most important. And if that's the case, let me agree with you that this midterm is the most important election. And so stop doing what you've been doing for the last 100 years because too much is at stake and you are literally walking out the definition of insanity.
Yeah, exactly. A great example of what you're saying is happening right now in Maryland with the Republican governor candidate. He's a Trump endorsed candidate, and he's has him and his lackeys all believe that they're the true candidates for freedom.
Right.
But he's straight up come out and said that he is not for uh, marijuana legalization, which is a referendum that's going to be on the ballot next month in Maryland. To add it to
Wow.
it will be a constitutionally protected law. And so, how can you say that you're for freedom, but you want to regulate something that can grow as easily as a tomato plant? We should be regulating marijuana like a tomato plant because it's technically in the same family as tomato plant, believe it or not.
Yep.
But he's supposed to be the pro freedom candidate for governor, but he's so against marijuana. He said he wouldn't vote for it. When he goes to vote next month. So it's you're like you said, it's picking the worst of two evils, and we've been doing that for the past 150 years. And look at our national debt, look at our deficit, look at the wars we've been in, look at the lives lost, look at the people thrown in jail for a plant. And I have a hard time staying calm about it because it's the definition of insanity. We keep doing the
Exactly.
same things over and over again and expecting different results. When you know that as soon as that Republican or Democrat gets in the office, They're not going to stick to anything what they said. They're going to follow party lines, vote for who they are told to vote for or what to vote for. And they don't have a spine. They have a spine on the campaign trail because it's easy, because you're just representing yourself when you're on the campaign trail,
Right.
and you represent ideas instead of actual actions. And it's very frustrating to see that happen, and just people just keep doing it over and over and over and over again. You just want to walk up to people and just shake them and be like, look, snap out of it. I mean,
Yeah.
there's your party affiliation is not who you are. It's not your personality, your personal beliefs, your you know what you believe in and what you stand to is what's important. And the Republicans, Democrats haven't done that in the past 150 years. So it gets really frustrating. And all of us libertarians know, we will talk to her blue in the face, and people are
Yeah.
just like, all right, well, I'm voting Republican anyway because they
Yeah.
said that they're pro freedom.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the most frustrating part about it. It's like I literally have conversations with every demographic in my community. It doesn't matter what their immutable characteristics are. No, it doesn't matter if they're male, it doesn't matter if they're female, it doesn't matter if they're white, black, Hispanic, anything in between at all. It's always like I literally love everything you're saying, but, and that's always the freaking problem. It's the but. And that's why we keep literally banging our heads against this brick wall. And by the day, losing liberty and our ability to control our own lives because of that word but. Now, obviously, it goes far beyond elections, but we do have elections coming up on November 8th. And you have a lot that you're having to campaign on, you're having to deal with, in spite of all of the things that you're facing up against when it comes to campaigning, when it comes to media suppression, when it comes to, I'm sure your ballot access is not on the same level as the Republican and Democrats. And you can definitely comment on that if you want. I'm sure there's a lot of things that are going down that you are literally ice skating uphill while they're roller skating down concrete. So, what is it that you need? What can we do to help you? And I want to get to the guns part here in a second, but give me an idea of what it is exactly that you're facing as an uphill battle when it comes to ballot access and those types of things and hurdles that people they really don't understand how hard it is for a third party candidate to get on the ballot and successfully win.
So we're kind of lucky in Maryland, and that doesn't happen very often. In that, uh, we did lose ballot access back in 2000, and I think it was 16. Was it 16? So the way it works in Maryland is the highest the highest office that's running for office. So in this case, it's always been governor. So the governor
Right.
has to get at least 1% to maintain ballot access. And we did lose that a few years ago. I
Wow.
wasn't involved with the party. It was just before I got involved with the party. So shout out to all my libertarians that put in this work. But we had to spend a boatload of money and get like 10,000 signatures in order to get ballot access again. So, I know my buddies were that I've befriended over the past couple of years being involved in the party. They were out there all the time, just getting signatures, getting donations that we can put towards. I think it might have been, I want to say it was like 10,000 signatures and like $10,000 or something ridiculous like that we had to
My
get. And
God.
this was during peak COVID. So people weren't answering their doors. So we had to, I believe the party actually went to the board of elections and said, like, look, people aren't answering their doors. We can't collect actual signatures on a piece of paper right now. Like, you have to allow us to do electronic signatures for this. So thankfully, they won that case, and the state allowed us to get virtual signatures in order to do it. And we made it by the skin of our teeth because people are people don't realize what we have to do to get ballot access. So,
Exactly.
and I'm not worried. Our governor candidate, he's awesome. He's like, no joke, the only out of all the five, right? We have there's Republican, Democrat, obviously, David Lasher, our Libertarian candidate, and then a Green and a working class party candidate for governor. Um, he out of all five of them, he is legitimately the only one that's suited for the job. He's worked under the current administration high up in the Department of Health, and for years before that, he was down in D.C. So resume wise, he's the only one that's suited for the job, and he's gotten really good support. He's gotten actually some media, which is that's rare to come by. So I'm not worried about us getting that 1%. Honestly, I think
Okay.
there's a small chance that he might do better than the Republican candidate. Um, so
That would
and
be
I was
excellent.
actually on his team before I decided to run, just helping with like events, organize events and stuff like that. So he's been out there. He's out there all the time. Him and Lieutenant Governor candidate Christiana Logan Smith, they they've been busting their butts. So I'm not worried about losing ballot access this go around.
That's
But
awesome.
it's been tough. It's been tough in the past.
Yeah. Yeah. It's always more ridiculously tough for us than anyone else when it comes to ballot access and media access, exposure. All of those things have to be done on our end from people like me and us being able to platform the real candidates that are voting for or fighting for real liberty and individual rights at the sacrifice of their own self, like what you're doing. I know campaigning is ridiculous. It's difficult. We have the hardest time of winning than anybody else, and yet you still put in all the time and effort to make sure you're getting out there and you're spreading that word and spreading that message in an absolutely uphill battle. And so it's on us, y'all. It is on us, okay, to make sure that a lot of it we live in an internet driven world, okay? A lot of it just takes clicks and shares. You can literally share the video and you might not know who will pick up this interview and be like, holy crap, Brian is amazing. And I'm a big player in the state of Maryland. So let me share it and let me help donate to the campaign. With that being said, make sure if you like the show, go and hit subscribe, like, share. Uh, across all platforms. Brian will give all of his. I know you're on Twitter because that's how you and I have been talking. We reached out to each other differently in the past. I think Clubhouse, but that was kind of a little bit of a dead end app for me as far as being able to promote candidates and stuff like that. But look, y'all, a lot of this 100% solely relies on us being able to take this content and showing other people, even if it's just through the share button, that Brian is your guy for the state of Maryland. And then they're going to be like, okay, well, I really like Brian. So let me check out my state. And this stuff resonates throughout the entire country. And we can make a real and legitimate movement just by being involved, even at the slightest, most insignificant, and it's not insignificant, but just at the lowest level being on the internet. So I wanted to ask you, Brian, about what is going on in your state with gun rights because we are having a meltdown in multiple ways, in good, positive, negative, medium ways, all across the United States right now. We have a lot of states that are implementing constitutional carry, meaning you don't need a CCL to carry a firearm concealed. You don't need a license. There's a lot of things going on in like New York where they're just banning guns outright. Insanity. What's it like going on for you? Because we have a nasty, nasty crime wave in this country, and it's only happening in places where people aren't allowed access to firearms.
So up until the Supreme Court ruling a few months ago, Maryland was I believe it's a May issue state. So you had to meet certain criteria in order to get a concealed carry permit. And even if you met the criteria, it was up to the discretion of the state police to allow you to carry or not. It was, and really the only two criteria that would get you approved was if you were a business owner and you typically had to carry cash on you to like take to the bank or something like that. and then the second one was if you had a credible threat against your life. So you had to
Wow.
actually show proof that somebody was trying to harm you, kill you, or I've heard stories of people that have hits out on them, um, and they actually, it was a buddy of mine. He was an Army Red Beret. He moved to Texas because he said, you know what, I'm done with the state. But he was a Red Beret and had multiple credible threats against his life, and they still wouldn't issue him a carry permit. So because of Maryland's tyrannical gun laws for so long, the Supreme Court really did help us out a lot. Pretty much everybody and their mother is getting concealed carry now. There's very the criteria is very small to not get approved. If you have a history of violence or domestic violence, or a lot of, when I say a lot, like three or more arrests for like drugs, they consider you a habitual abuser, and they won't grant it to you.
Wow.
And if you have a medical marijuana card, you can't get a concealed carry license because they're afraid you're going to shoot people up when you're smoking a doobie. So, but other than that, you can get a concealed carry permit pretty easily now in Maryland. It's just a matter of waiting for it. Last I heard, there were 34,000 people, kind of like backlogged that they're working through. So, which is amazing, right? Because what's going on in Maryland as violent crime is going, and where I live, I'm just south of Baltimore City, which is, I think, considered one of the most dangerous cities in the country now. Um, that
Jeez.
that violence and that crime is starting to spread out, radiate out from the city. So we've seen an
Same
uptick
here.
in violent crime in our communities. Communities that fall into my district where I'm running, and there's a saying, when seconds matter, police are only minutes away. And what this is going to allow people to do is to protect themselves, um, whether it be in your home, when you're, going to the store, out at the mall, whatever it may be. It's a big win for people, and it's been a big sigh of relief for people that they feel like they can actually protect themselves,
Yeah.
equally to what the threat is against them. Um, and it was kind of funny because that was what I was running on, is making Maryland a shall issue state, and then it happened. Um, so with they say a stroke of a pen. So now I'm fighting to become a constitutional carry state. That's the next level that we can get to, and it pretty much doesn't get too much more free than that. Um, and the medical marijuana thing could potentially come to an end here soon if marijuana gets legalized. Then you don't have any. There's no proof that you use marijuana. So that's just another whole group of people that can apply for a concealed carry permit. But ultimately, the goal for
Yeah.
me is to make us a constitutional carry state.
Amen. I love it. We're a constitutional carrier state. And for those of you that are unfamiliar with that sort of legal language, which, look, everybody watching this show knows pretty much far more than me about all of these topics. I'm just a passionate guy, and I'm learning on the fly. I've been doing this for about a year or so now. Um, Constitutional carry means that you don't need a concealed carry license, right? You can just get your firearm. You can carry it concealed legally without any sort of license. You still have to go through a background check, which I'm absolutely against. And I'll rant here just for 3 seconds about that. There's a lot of women out there that get murdered waiting on their 72-hour or 96-hour background check from a psychotic ex-boyfriend or ex-husband or somebody else. So abolish that. We're putting women and children at risk for them being able to purchase a firearm, and you're not stopping any of the mass shooters. Think about it for one freaking second. It makes no sense. Women and children are dying, having to wait on a firearm to protect themselves, while none of the mass shooters are being stopped because of a 96, 72 hour to 96 hour wait for a background check. Makes no sense. It hurts people. 100%. It hurts and kills people. I wanted to get to a. Oh, my bad, Brian. Did you want to? Did you want to?
Oh no. Well, Maryland, we have it's a 7-day waiting period for a handgun.
7 days?
Rifle, 7 days.
Oh my God.
And depending on the shop, the FFL that you go to get your gun, if they're closed on a day, that doesn't count. So it could be upwards of 9-10 days before you can get your handgun.
Yeah. Oh my God. I didn't even know that existed. I thought, yeah, and never mind what I thought. That's absolutely tyrannical, and they're getting people murdered for this. And the most innocent and defenseless among us are getting murdered for this. That's disgusting. That's horrible. I wanted to kind of double down on some of these comments here. Morgan Dow says social media is the only way to spread #alternative media. He also says the Cajun Libertarian, I've been following you and supporting for a while now. Thank you for all you do. Morgan, you're amazing, bro. You're fantastic. Thank you. Chris says liking, subscribing, and sharing not only increases visibility with your own followers, it also moves it up in the algorithm for the normies. That's what's massively important, because when I have people on like Brian, who has an absolutely outstanding message to share with everyone, who is running for office in less than 3 weeks, they need to hear him. Morgan Dow, #gun rights are human rights. And then #reefer madness. Yeah, it's incredible. So I wanted to ask you, we only got a few minutes here left. I wanted to talk to you about what it is exactly that you need and how we can help you achieve the goals. Because here's the deal, as Joseph Robinette Biden likes to say all the time, not joking, even though he's littered with dementia and senility. Here's the deal. What matters in Maryland matters everywhere else. Okay, Maryland is a significant state. It's not much different than New York, California, the other areas in the country where certain precedents are set. And you just heard Brian say that it's a 7 to 9 day waiting period for a firearm approval that doesn't take that. Look, I can tell you from somebody who's been arrested multiple times, like, I don't know, 7 or 8 times now, a federal background check takes about an hour at max to get back. So when they tell you it's 7 to 9 days, or even in a deep red state like mine, where they make you wait 4 days, that's an absolute blatant lie. And the things that take place in Maryland can take place in your home state. So, Brian, tell us, what do we need to do to help push you forward in this race, my man?
So, really, what we were talking about earlier is social media. I mean, social media has been a big force behind my campaign. I don't. I try to make as much time for campaigning. Foot soldiering around, knocking on doors, literature dropping, tabling events, all that stuff that you have to do. Try to do that as much as I possibly can. But having a wife, a kid, a house, I've got chickens I got to take care of and other animals, and trying to make family time, because family first, regardless of what you're doing in life. Your family comes first. It's social media has been a giant help for me. I tell people all the time, like, if you see something and you genuinely like it, don't just do it just because you're my friend or something. But if you genuinely like what I'm saying, please, it doesn't matter if you're in Maryland or not, because it's all about the algorithms. Like my stuff, share my stuff, comment on my stuff. Up until the other day when you retweeted my one tweet, I had been stagnant at around like 70 followers on Twitter. And I haven't been that heavy on Twitter up until the past couple of weeks, honestly. But since you retweeted my retweet the other day, I've gained about 35 followers, which doesn't sound like a lot, but for a race like mine, that's significant. And it's to the point where I have Amy Lepore, vice chair of Delaware. She's liking and retweeting all my stuff. The people behind Liberty Speaks, which is um, their organization, they actually had a thing here in Maryland a couple weeks ago that I went to. Now they're liking and retweeting my stuff, and it just builds, and it's like an exponential kind of thing. With your following, when you retweeted my thing, that tweet has like 150 likes by this point, and I didn't say anything like breakthrough or a brand new thought. It was what we talk about as libertarians on a local and state level all the time, that we have the power to nullify bad federal laws. And it's so silly, and it sounds annoying, but it really is so important to like, retweet, share, comment, react on these social media posts, because like somebody said earlier, it the the normies are more likely to see it if other people are sharing it. How many libertarians are you actually friends with, like on your personal Facebook page? Probably not definitely not the majority if you're like me. So by sharing those things, it reaches out to all those people who aren't libertarians, and they say, you know what, this is good, and then they go to your Facebook page and they go to your website. So really, social media, and you can do that from just sitting outside having a smoke break on your fooling around on your phone, and it just takes a second to do, but it's really a giant help to campaigns like mine to get the word out.
Yeah, 100%. It's a massive help because, and look, I didn't know that you had gotten that kind of traction just off me, quote tweeting and retweeting that. That's 35 followers off of one tweet. That's that's an outstanding thing. Twitter's a hard land to deal with, so that's proof positive, y'all, that the influence you have just by hitting the share button, the tweet button, the react button, and letting people know, it's a massive deal. Because look, at the end of the day, you can poo-poo social media all you want, but it's the number one avenue for information dissemination on the globe. The globe. It ain't just America. It ain't just Maryland. It ain't just Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas, Texas, California, Seattle. No, it's the globe. It's the globe. And so, Brian, I assume that you do have a website. Can you tell us what that is?
Yeah, sure. It's Kunkoski, Kunkoski, the number 4senate.com. So Kunkoski4senate.com. I'm on Facebook, BK2 for FOR Senate. I kind of wish I would have made that more, in time, whatever. But that's what it is. And Twitter is the same thing, at BK, the number 2 FOR Senate.com.
Did I get that right?
That is correct. Yes, it is.
Perfect.
I have a TikTok, but I find I can't. I tried. I know you do it. I don't have the patience. I kind of have a boomer mindset when it comes to technology, so I've just been sticking to things that I know: Facebook and Twitter. Even the website, my wife had to help me with my website because it was just frustrating. I was like, can you try to just make this look nice? Like I had everything that I wanted to say on there, and I was like, she reformatted it for me and changed it all completely from what it was originally. Yeah, Facebook and Twitter. I don't always do the same thing on every social media, so definitely follow me on both Facebook and Twitter. Twitter gets my more spicy takes on things. I feel like it's more receptive on Twitter for spicier, more kind of hardcore statements, and Facebook's more kind of lighthearted. More here's an event or what have you, pictures and things like that, more so than Twitter. So definitely follow both. Either way, it helps if you just do one or the other.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have I'm assuming that Kunkoski for Senate.com is where people can donate or figure out where they can go to actually physically help if they're in your state?
Yeah, so if you go to my website, there's a donate button on the top. donations are. I'm still taking donations in. We're 2 weeks out. Um, Another couple batches of signs won't hurt, right? And then there's actually a form on the website that I get directly emailed to, and then we can pretty much almost message from the website through our emails. So if you're on the website and I respond to you, we can pretty much instant chat right there, and then give me your information, contact information, and if you want to help, which I do need some more volunteers for election time. uh, there's no way I can physically go to every election site, polling site in my district.
Right.
So I need people that I can drop off signs to ahead of time. They can go put the signs down, and then got a notification. Somebody went to my website.
Nice.
Uh, Put signs down and then pick them up before either the state picks them up or another party rips your signs off the metal stands and takes the metal stands and leaves your sign laying on the ground. I definitely need volunteers for that.
Awesome. I want to check out this comment, and I have you. I have one last super important question for you, Brian. First off, this comment, Chris, he ran out of states he knew real quick. And you know what, man, Chris? You know what? Get bent, bro. I'm just kidding. I love that guy. He's a great dude, a fantastic Twitter friend for sure, one of the longest running. I was just trying to name states that were big on anti-liberty issues. And then I ran into a city. I said Seattle. And there he is there with Seattle in the comment section. I should have said Oregon. I said Seattle. My bad. It's live. Love you, man. All right. Brian, I want to ask you one more important question before we get out of here. What is your personal number one issue? What if you're a single issue voter in the state of Maryland that's voting for Brian Kunkoski, or just you yourself? Forget about the voters. Just you. If there's one big major thing, or even like two, what is that, and what can we do about it, Brian?
You ready for this answer? Because it's
Oh
going
yeah.
to sound it sounds silly, but when you sit and think about it for a second, it's really is a big deal. Um, I want to get away. I want to do away with vehicle re-registration in Maryland. Really, what big deal is that? The big deal is that every 2 years in Maryland, you have to re-register your vehicle, and it's about $250. You have to take time out of your day. You have to leave work early, go down to the MVA, which the DMV in Maryland is the MVA, and pay $250 to get a little sticker to put on your license plate so that you don't get pulled over. And people will say, well, how are you going to pay for the roads? It's always the roads, right? Well, how about we stop allowing the legislature and the governor to dip into the transportation funds for the general fund or for this project, that project, their personal pet projects, and we can still have, well, we don't have nice roads anyway. So let's keep that money in the transportation fund, and let's save people from having to go to the MVA every 2 years and spend $250 just to get a stupid sticker on their license plate, so they don't get pulled over and they don't get a ticket and they don't, have their license revoked until you go to court over it. I said that at a forum I was at the other night, and the entire crowd of about 80 or so people were. You could just, it was a audible sigh of relief that somebody brought this up, and one woman even went like, "Thank God," because people are tired of it. People are tired of these stupid little fees
Yeah.
and licensures and permits and things like that. And we start with vehicle registration, and the next thing you know, you don't have to get a permit to put a deck on the back of your house or get a permit or a license to open a small business, right? We got to start small. And the way that I see going down that route of less fees and licensures and permits is getting rid of vehicle re-registration, because it's something that
Amen.
everybody, literally everybody, can agree on.
Here's the thing that I'm hoping a lot of people don't miss. I know everyone in this audience does not, but again, as we like, share, and subscribe to the channels, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, basically anywhere where you can get your podcast. a lot of people don't understand the snowball effect of eliminating these simple extortion tactics, right?
Yeah.
If you take such a simple, and this is what I love about what you just said, because I'm thinking in my mind, I'm like, man, what are people thinking about while they're listening to him say this? Are they like, well, my God, man, we got all this tyranny going on, and he's talking about simple registration fees. Wrong. When you start with the simple registration fees, you snowball into greater liberty because we've devolved into less liberties via licensing and registration fees of the sort of which Brian is talking about. This is actually crucial, people. It's very important. And I'm super glad that you said that, Brian, because I really, really don't think that people understand how significant it is that you have to literally pay a gang state, an illegitimate, extortionary entity just to re register your vehicle.
Yep.
That didn't happen by accident. That happened by a long train of individual liberty violations. And so if you start back at the basics, then you can work your way back up that train. But first, we got to understand and let people know, not we understand, obviously you understand, and much more than I do, that these type of laws are absolutely incompatible with a free society. And so if we start by just abolishing simple things like re-registration, we can work our way back up to individual liberty and private property, because that's what we're ultimately talking about. Am I wrong?
No, that's exactly what it is. I mean, and if you sit there and think about it, it can even go as far to where you don't need to register your vehicle with the state at all, right? You have insurance. I mean, I'm not for Maryland requiring you have vehicle insurance, but why can't uh, vehicle like titles and registration be controlled through private means like an insurance company? Why can't they issue out license plates? Why can't they control keep track of that? Because they already do. Then they offer you a service in return other than giving you a sticker. So there's all these different ways that you can go about this, and there's always an argument that agrees with what I'm saying, whether it's well less money for people out of their pocket, or it's more convenient for people, or to as far as where we can allow a private entity to control this kind of information because they have it already. Your insurance company already has your registration info, your VIN number in your vehicle, the make, model, year, color, everything down to what motor's in the thing. So why do we need a state agency, which personally I see as a form of welfare, because they do so little important things that a private entity can't just maintain this information.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. 100%. Let me double back on some comments real quick before we get up out of here. Um, Morgan, well, let me do this one first. Annie Sanford says, "Amen." Multiple explanation points. Thank you, Annie. Absolutely,
And he's a
100%.
and he's a been a big supporter of mine. She's an awesome lady, and she's actually a neighbor. So thanks, Annie.
That's fantastic. Local community, talking to your neighbors. You develop a community, a network of strength and support in the name of individual rights and liberty to save our country. We still have a chance, people. That's what I see when I hear him say that in real time. That's what I hear. That is a community, a local network coming together to say no. We're not going to comply, and we will do everything within our legal powers to combat you on every possible level. That's what I hear. That's my translation of what Brian just said. Sorry about that rant right there. I just that just triggered something in me because I feel like we have this absolute, you know, fall short or shortcoming of talking to our neighbors and getting out into our neighborhood and our individual communities. It's remarkable. Morgan Dow says a single issue everyone can get behind. Everyone hates the DMV. That's exactly right. So start that conversation in your community, in your neighborhood with that. If that's something that you fall in line with. Do you hate the DMV? I absolutely hate the DMV. Guess who runs the DMV? The government. Now, XYZ, and go forth and forward. Chris says, one piece of tyranny justifying the next over and over into perpetuity. Yes, I mean, that's exactly correct. It just compiles one on top of the other, one on top of the other, one on top of the other. Amy, again, why do I have to pay a tax on property I own? The short answer is, if you have to pay a tax on property that you own, you don't own that property. That's just
Yep.
that's just the reality of the situation, people. You do not own anything that you have to perpetually pay a tax on. That's the reality. Because if you don't pay said tax, they come and take your said property, which means that's not your property. You're just renting it. Full stop. End of discussion when it comes to that. So, all right, we're out of time. Brian, I'm going to ask you once again, my man, please give us whatever information that we need to get you into the best position that you need to be in.
Go to my website, donate if you can. I know times are really tough for a lot of people right now, and that honestly that doesn't exclude me. Um, so if you can't donate, I understand, I get it. But check out the website. Anytime I get a notification that somebody went to my website, it gives me the warm and fuzzies. So at least give me some warm and fuzzies. Go to my website, like, share, comment my things on Facebook, retweet, like the things on Twitter, quote tweet, share it to your, add your opinion to what I'm saying or what have you. And at this point, it's go time, right? We got a couple weeks until election. The more my name is out there, the better.
Amen. Amen. Brian, thank you so much, man. You're fantastic. I've known you for quite a while right now. I've never ever gotten the instinctual, you know, inclination that you were anything but a very good man and a very good human being. And I sincerely hope that I can help you out in winning this election and or making massive waves to where the next time you run, as you have succinctly stated, that you will not stop fighting for the average individual American and their liberty and their freedom to succeed in this world. I hope to have you on again real soon, hopefully before the midterms come back. Man, thank you so much for coming on. I look forward to talking to you again.
Well, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. See you soon, my friend.
See ya.
Brian, thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank y'all for being here. It's been an absolutely amazing conversation. This is what I look for. I look for genuineness. I look for authenticity. And this is what you find in candidates like Brian. And this is what we find in the vast majority of the libertarian candidates. I mean, this is just how it is. Yes, I'm a libertarian, but I don't put any money towards any party at all. I just believe in these people because I believe in authenticity. I believe in the genuineness of these people wanting to help you and me. And I am in the position to where I want to be the one to do what I can to help where I can, when I can, in every single place that I can. And so, you know what to do. It doesn't take much effort. You can donate five. Look, if everybody that watches this show, which is going to be wind up, 2,000 people watches this show, which is about average, sometimes more, sometimes less. If everybody donated $1, imagine, let's just say on the high end, 4,000 to 6,000 people watch the show, which is not uncommon for my show. $4,000 to $6,000. $1. Now, double down on that. If nobody puts up $1, but every single person that watches this show hits the share button, like and subscribe, imagine the impact that we could have on this community in this time of massive crisis. And make no mistake, you all know it. It doesn't matter what political side of the aisle that this show comes across for you. We are in a crisis financially, globally, with war, the threat of nuclear war. We need people. We need people that are going to stand up for you individually at the sacrifice of their own livelihood, which is what people like Brian are doing. So please help. That's all I can ask. Even in the most infantile ways of doing so. The smallest amount of energy just to hit the share button and get Brian's name out there. Please. We need this real fast. And that's it. Dangerous liberty over peaceful slavery. I love each and every one of you very, very much. I thank you so much for being here. And I will see you very soon. Same Cajun time, same Cajun channel. And I am out.